Listening is an act of love. Thank you. You can help lift up the voices, stories, and challenges we share by making a contribution at thiswayout.org. A sincere thank you to all of you who already support This Way Out. Your support matters.
I'm Marcos Nájera.
And I'm Michael LeBeau.
With NewsWrap, a summary of some of the news in or affecting LGBTQ communities around the world for the week ending May 15th, 2021. The UK government of Conservative Party Prime Minister Boris Johnson is finally moving forward with a plan to ban so-called conversion therapy. Queen Elizabeth II officially announced the move during her traditional speech at the state opening of Parliament on May 11th. Johnson has been under increasing pressure to take action against the debunked claim that queer people can be turned straight. His predecessor, Theresa May, made the ban part of her government's promises back in 2018. There may still be trouble ahead, however. A public consultation on the issue is to be held before any parliamentary consideration. And as the Queen's speech noted, the primary concern is to ensure medical professionals, religious leaders, teachers, and parents can continue to be able to have open and honest conversations with people. Nancy Kelly of the British queer advocacy group Stonewall expressed concern about those religious-related exemptions. She insisted, "We don't need a consultation to know that all practices that seek to convert, suppress, cure, or change us are dangerous, abusive, and must be banned." Veteran activist Peter Tatchell denounced what he called countless studies and consultations on the issue in the past few years. He said, "All we've had is more than 1,000 days of dithering. It's time Boris got on with it and got this ban done." Meanwhile, the Washington Blade reports that a ban on conversion therapy has died in a committee of Puerto Rico's Senate.
The Biden administration continues to reverse the repressive anti-LGBTQ actions of the previous government. This week, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Xavier Becerra announced the reinstatement of Obama-era rules banning discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in healthcare. Those provisions of the Affordable Care Act were dumped by the outgoing administration. Becerra cited last year's Supreme Court Bostock ruling. It declared LGBTQ people protected under provisions of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that ban employment discrimination based on sex. Becerra noted that fear of discrimination can lead individuals to forego care, which can have serious negative health consequences. The Bostock decision has been cited in other federal cases involving LGBTQ rights. Pro-queer attorneys argue that, by extension, the employment bias ruling applies to other aspects of life, including health care. The Office for Civil Rights of the Health and Human Services Department will enforce the ban on healthcare bias by hospitals, clinics, and healthcare providers.
A 20-year-old Iranian man is dead this week, murdered in an honor killing by relatives who believed his sexual orientation brought shame to the family. Alireza Fazili Monfared was beheaded by his half-brother and cousins after they saw a government letter exempting him from military service because of his sexual depravity. He had planned to flee to Turkey with his boyfriend, but his time ran out. The murderers phoned Monfared's mother to tell her where to find his mutilated body under a tree outside of town. She was reportedly hospitalized in a state of shock over the death of her only child. A 2020 report by the Iranian Lesbian and Transgender Network reported that 6 in 10 LGBTQ people in the Islamic Republic have been assaulted by family members. Iranian law punishes consensual adult same-gender sex with life in prison or execution. The advocacy group reports that Monfared's half-brother and cousins have been arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Whether or not they'll actually be prosecuted remains to be seen.
Cameroonian online fashion celebrity Shakiro and her friend Patricia were sentenced this week to 5 years in prison for attempted homosexuality. Under the legal names Loic Njukom and Roland Moot, the two were arrested at a restaurant in the coastal city of Douala in February and have been in jail ever since. They were also convicted of failure to carry proper IDs and public indecency, presumably for wearing women's clothing. They each face another year behind bars if they fail to pay the additional equivalent of almost $400 in fines. Well-known regional LGBTQ legal advocate Alison Combe called the arrests and sentencing a political decision, and plans to appeal because there was no evidence of actual homosexual acts. They were simply dining while trans. Human Rights Watch has condemned the arrests and sentencing, calling the move part of a stepped-up government crackdown on sexual and gender minorities. Cameroon is one of more than 30 African countries that continue to criminalize same-gender sex. The global rights group says that at least 53 other Cameroonians have been arrested in raids on HIV/AIDS service organizations since May 2020. Some detainees reported being beaten while in custody. Some were forced to undergo torturous anal examinations that authorities falsely believe can confirm homosexual activity.
In more encouraging news for the queer community, the Reverend Megan Rohrer was elected Bishop of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America's Sierra Pacific Synod on May 8th. Bishop Rohrer is believed to be the first transgender person to serve as bishop in any mainstream Christian denomination. They pastored Grace Lutheran Church in San Francisco and also served as community chaplain coordinator for the San Francisco Police Department, according to the Religion News Service. The Sierra Pacific Synod ministers to 180 congregations and more than 36,000 members in Northern California and Northern Nevada. Bishops of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America serve 6-year terms. The 41-year-old clergy person has not exactly been camera shy. Bishop Rohrer is a well-known homeless advocate and street activist in the Bay Area and was featured on the TV series Queer Eye. They've been profiled in Cosmopolitan and Time magazines, where they describe their struggles as a young queer Christian, saying, "The people who were in my religion classes with me would sing hymns when I walked by to try to get rid of my gay demons, and I would just sing harmony. I didn't know what else to do." Bishop Rohrer lives in San Francisco with their wife Laurel and the couple's 2 children.
2021 is already the worst year for LGBTQ rights in U.S. history. That's according to a new report from the Human Rights Campaign. Republican-controlled state legislators and governors have already passed 17 anti-queer laws this year. The previous record of 15 was set during all 12 months of 2015. The HRC also counts an additional 11 bills currently awaiting gubernatorial signatures and dozens more in process across the country. Trans youth are proving to be the most vulnerable. The HRC report was issued just as Montana's Republican Governor Greg Gianforte was signing yet another state law banning transgender athletes from participating in school sports. 69 more trans sports bans are among the more than 250 anti-queer state bills introduced so far. 35 of them prevent trans young people from accessing gender-affirming medical care. There are at least 15 so-called bathroom bills to outlaw trans people using gender-segregated public facilities that are consistent with their gender identity, such as campus restrooms and locker rooms. Meanwhile, 2 other queer advocacy groups have issued an open letter to the National Collegiate Athletic Association. GLAAD and Athlete Ally are urging the NCAA not to schedule its tournaments and championships in states that have enacted anti-queer laws. The country's premier collegiate sports authority did just that in 2016, when it moved events out of North Carolina after Republicans there passed the country's very first bathroom bill.
Finally, 23-year-old Owen Hercombe has been sworn in as mayor of Bangor in North Wales, the world's second out non-binary mayor. Hercombe's official ceremony was delayed by the COVID pandemic. They were actually elected at the age of 22 last year, making them the youngest mayor in the country's history. Hercombe says they fell in love with the town when they moved there to study 5 years ago. They've also been involved in local politics ever since. According to Out magazine, Mayor Hercombe is second only to Mayor Tony Briffa of Hobsons Bay in the Australian state of Victoria, who served between 2010 and 2012. Briffa is both non-binary and intersex.
That's NewsWrap, global queer news with attitude for the week ending May 15th, 2021. Follow the news in your area and around the world. An informed community is a strong community.
NewsWrap is recording remotely during the COVID-19 emergency. It's written by Greg Gordon, edited by Lucia Chappelle, produced by Brian DeShazer, and brought to you by you.
Help keep us in ears around the world at thiswayout.org. where you can also read the text of this newscast, and much more.
And you can read the transcript and listen to NewsWrap each week by subscribing to our This Way Out radio channel on YouTube. For This Way Out, I'm Marcos Nájera. Stay healthy.
And I'm Michael LeBeau. Stay safe.
This Way Out delivers LGBTQ news and culture to more than 150 local communities on radio stations around the world, and we are also a free online news service. You can choose your favorite way to listen, online or on the air, at thiswayout.org. Please sign up for our free e-newsletter, Inside This Way Out. We'll respect your trust in us and make sure your personal information is never shared with others. Just send us an email at info@thiswayout.org to receive this informative and unique addition to the show. You'll be invited to join us for a more in-depth look into our stories and be encouraged to learn more about This Way Out's 3 decades of broadcast activism. Find out about our upcoming virtual Pride event, James Baldwin, a This Way Out Teach-In, live streaming on Instagram and YouTube, January 25th, 2021. We hope you choose to join us in celebration of LGBTQ history and culture. We'll make sure you always know what's going on inside This Way Out. Email us at info@thiswayout.org to join the movement. Thank you.